everybody, and welcome to another financial segment of the Vegas Voice called Dollars and Cents. I'm Dan Roberts, the publisher of the magazine, and I have the great pleasure of speaking with the expert on financial matters, and that is also my friend, Todd Bauman. Todd, thank you again for being here.
How's it going, Dan? Are you good?
I'm good if you are, man.
I'm good.
Then
We're vertical.
Yeah. Huh?
That's a good sign.
We are ready to go. You know what, Todd? You've mentioned in a couple of our segments that Bauman Wealth Advisors gives a complimentary, a review of people who come in. They have questions. Is it just something come in and it takes 5 minutes in and out, or do you really do an extensive type of survey and get questions and answers?
Yeah, so Dan, we offer complimentary consultations. They'll take anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the client, how many questions they have, and so forth. And we're wearing multiple hats when we're going through this process. We're looking at everything. We're looking at their investments, their income, their taxes, their health care, and their estate planning. So we're covering all of that in that hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we're focusing on most of the time are the investments for the clients, because that seems to be the biggest issue that most clients come to us for is, wanting us to analyze and look at what they have.
And how do you go about doing it? Is it some type of survey? Is it a chart of some kind? What do you have that you offer to people who are watching this?
Well, we offer complimentary financial analysis. So we're, it's funny because I always ask clients, like, what do you have? And most people are like, I don't know.
I don't know,
Yeah, and how's it doing? I don't know.
Yeah,
what are you paying for it? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, right? So
and it's consistent, and we laugh over it, but it really is true.
It's true, and it's the bulk of the portfolio. So we try to do a really good job of explaining to clients what they have, why they have it, and what it's costing them, because fees are really important. And you gotta, I do believe it's valuable to pay a fee for a service, but you don't want to be overpaying for a service. So when a client comes in and they bring all of their statements with them, right? We will take those statements with us and we'll do an analysis. And one of the things we're doing is, this is software called Nitrogen, right? And the program's called Riskalyze, right?
Okay.
And so we don't own Riskalyze. I just pay money to use the service. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Been using it for years and years and absolutely love it. But we will plug in all of the clients' positions in here, and then Riskalyze will actually analyze it for us, and it will tell us, multiple things, right? And so one of the things we're looking for, Dan, if you can see here, is, so this was an actual client we had yesterday.
Okay. Like
literally, I just knew I was coming to see you today, and I'm like, I'm going to bring this Riskalyze and show them, because when we met with the client, we asked them, and this client kind of knew what he was doing, right? He was a little bit more astute than most people we meet with. But he's like, yeah, I know I'm a little aggressive, but not crazy. But I know I'm trying to be a little bit more aggressive. I'm like, okay, sounds good, blah, blah, blah. And so we plugged everything in here, and Riskalyze gave him a risk score of 89, which...
is it 1 to 100 or 1 to 1,000? Go ahead.
Yeah, 0 to 100. So 89 is huge. That's high.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dan, think of, you're going down the freeway and there's 3 lanes, right? Going down the freeway. And the fast lane, you're at like 65 plus, right? And then the middle lane, you're at like 55 to 65. And then the slow lane, you're at 55 or under, right? So this guy's booking it in the fast lane, right? And he's got an 89 risk score. The S&P 500 has a risk score of 72.
Oh my, okay.
So he's actually more aggressive than the S&P 500, right?
And this particular guy, does he realize it, or he just, I had no idea?
No, I showed him, and he's like, no way.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't realize I was that aggressive. And I'm like, yeah, Riskalyze is saying you're an 89, which is pretty aggressive. He's like, I don't want to be that aggressive. I didn't realize I was that aggressive. One of his accounts he's managing on the own, but he has another financial advisor that he was relying upon to guide him and put him more of a moderate. He goes, I want to be in the middle lane, right? He goes, I'm 76. I don't need to be in the fast lane. I'm like, no, you don't. There's no reason to be taking that much risk. You have enough money here. you're going to be fine getting through the rest of your life. You have nothing to worry about. So he was quite shocked when he saw 89. And so we have a portfolio that we do for our clients. It's called the Legacy Portfolio, and it has a risk score of 61.
Okay.
And so I showed him, I said, well, if we were managing your portfolio, you know, your risk score drops from an 89 to a 61.
Yeah, considerably, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, wow, that sounds more my speed. And I'm like, yeah, from what you're telling me, that's the middle lane right there, you know, perfect for you. Riskalyze also gives him a GPA of 3.5. So that's your grade point average. And honestly, that's where most people come in at, anywhere from like 3.3 to 3.8. So he's right in line with most portfolios we see. Ours has the highest GPA you can have, and that's a 4.3. Really? So yeah, he's a B. We're an A+.
Yeah.
And then his propensity for, he has a 95% chance of making an 8.43%, where ours is a 14.5% rate of return net of our fees. So, you know, he's looking at this and he's thinking, wow, if I were to come on board with Bauman Wealth Advisors, you could lower my risk, give me potential for more return, and have an overall higher GPA, which is fees, return, all that stuff in there. And I said, absolutely, you know. And so we, you know, did not expect him to make a decision on the spot, gave him everything, you know. And yeah, I mean, he actually called us back today. We sent him out of the office, you know, think about it, do whatever you want. We're not going anywhere. And he actually called us today and he goes, I want to move forward with you guys. So it was pretty cool.
It makes the most sense. And again, I'm looking at this, and there's also a graph. Talk a little bit about the graph that's on page 3.
Yeah. So one of the other, you know, the report is extensive. It's you know 10 plus pages long, and it's analyzing everything in there. And one of the things that we're doing is comparing it to the S&P 500, because what we're trying to do, Dan, is keep up with or match or beat the S&P 500 from a return standpoint. But we're also trying to do it with lower volatility, right? Lower risk. So if the S&P is doing this, we're doing this, right? Not as much.
Right.
And so we compared it the last 20 years, and if you can see, he's the blue portfolio, and you know, we hung together, you know, for quite some time, but then his portfolio started to lag, right? You can see the blue line, and then the gray line is the S&P 500. Right, and then we're the orange line. So we've pulled away from his portfolio, and then we're substantially beating him.
You know, I'm looking at this right here, and I'm saying this makes sense to me because I can see it. I'm not a financial guy. You can have numbers and stats all you want, but this graph really, it puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Well, and Riskalyze is producing that. It's not like I'm going in there, you know.
So you're not manipulating it? You're not
no, I mean, we have a standard portfolio, and we plugged in his, and that's what it spit out. So this is one of the things, Dan, that we're doing for clients. This is really, really important because you need to make sure, we have a new president in office now.
Right.
You need to make sure that your portfolio is positioned for what potentially could be coming down the road, whether you think the market's going to go up or down. If you have bonds in your portfolio, we are going to be advising you to get rid of those bonds if possible, and the bond funds, and repositioning it and so forth. So I would highly recommend people take us up on our complimentary consultation, right?
I mean, you have nothing to lose, for God's sake.
No, I mean, like, look, we'll analyze it. It doesn't cost you anything. Give it all back to you. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's all good. You know, I'm 54. We're going to be here for a long time.
I hope so, let's say the least. So with that in mind, Todd, if people want to get a hold of you, I mean, one of the things that you have going is that you're not just in Henderson, you're not just in Summerlin, you're really all over the valley. Go ahead.
Yeah, we actually have 3 offices, ladies and gentlemen. We have a Mesquite office that we just launched over the summer of 24, which is pretty awesome. Love it out there. We have a Henderson office, and then we also have a Summerlin office at Cheyenne and 215 that we're actually in the process of doubling that. We just took over twice as much square feet, so that's pretty awesome. But you can give us a call at 702-897-9997 if you want to get a complimentary financial analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no obligation. We're not going to tie you up and hit golf balls at you until you do something. That I promise you. But I cannot stress to you enough how important this is to know where you're at. Get an unbiased second opinion on where you're at. If you're doing good, if you're not, we'll tell you. Ball's back in your court. But it all takes... Well, it just takes that single phone call, Dan. Give us a call, 702-897-9997, and book your complimentary consultation with our team.
And I have to give a plug for Todd right now. I know that he's honest. I know that he cares. And I know that he looks out for Vegas Voice readers. I know that because I get the word back if anything happens. Yeah. And everything I get back is positive. So it's a hell of a thing to have. I got to tell you that right now. So, Todd, again, I thank you for allowing me to sit with you and teach me all this stuff and graphs and numbers and so. And this is Dan Roberts for the Vegas Voice saying, we'll see you again next time. Todd, thanks again.
Thank you, Dan.